There's a pair of shoes on my porch. They are mine. I'm wearing the other pair right now, the ones still tied to my feet. I can feel the laces. I can feel the dirt I tracked in from the lower campground 20 minutes ago. Both pairs are real. Both pairs are here. I haven't opened the door. I haven't moved in 23 minutes. I've been standing in the kitchen with the lights off, my hand on the radio, my radio off. I'm not going to pretend this is the first time I've been afraid in this job. I'm going to pretend it's the last. Let me start at the beginning. Let me start 9 years ago, when I still believed the rules in this park were written down somewhere. I started here at 26. I came up through wildland fire, 2 seasons hotshot, and I wanted something quieter. The interview was a formality. The supervisor, a man named Halloran, late 50s, eyes the color of wet bark, looked at me across his desk for a long time before he asked one question. He asked if I was a person who followed rules. I told him yes. He nodded like he was disappointed. Then he hired me. The written rules were standard. Carry your radio. Don't run on switchbacks. Bear spray on your hip, never in your pack. Report any visitor over 4 hours past their stated return time. Report any campfire after the second burn ban. Report missing children immediately and stay on the trail until search and rescue arrives. I signed the sheet. Halloran filed it. Then he handed me a second sheet. This one was handwritten. His handwriting. No header, no title, no copy on file. The unwritten rules. The ones the older rangers passed down by hand, by mouth, by the weight of however long they'd lasted. He didn't tell me what was past the marker. He didn't tell me there was a Trail 7. The maps didn't show one. The sign at the trailhead listed Trails 1 through 6 and a connector loop. That was it. 9 years. I followed every rule, written and unwritten. I never took a late shift in spring. I never crossed the marker. Twice I had hikers tell me they'd seen a side trail on the North Loop branching off through a stand of dead pine, and twice I told them politely that they'd misread the map. I lied to their faces and they believed me, because rangers don't lie. Rangers point at a trail map and tell you the truth. I started keeping my own logbook in the second year. Halloran caught me at it once, glanced at the page and didn't say a word. He let me keep it. I think he wanted me to keep it. I think every ranger before me had kept one too, and the trail had taken those books along with the rangers because I never found a single one in the cabin when I moved in. I logged the small things, the wind direction at the marker on full moon nights, the hikers who came back too quiet, the dogs that wouldn't go past the second switchback on the North Loop, the way the temperature on Trail 7's edge dropped 4 degrees in 20 feet, summer or winter, no matter what the weather was doing anywhere else. 9 years, and in that time 4 people went missing in this park, the official count. 2 were tourists who were found within 48 hours, alive, embarrassed, dehydrated. 1 was a teenage boy whose body was recovered from a ravine on the south face. The 4th was a 6-year-old girl named Iris Tanaka, last seen on the North Loop in April 2021, never found. I worked her search. I walked the marked trails for 9 days. I never crossed the marker. The supervisor told me directly, don't cross the marker, even for her, especially for her, and I obeyed him. We called off the search on day 11. Her parents went home with empty hands. I told myself I'd done my job. I'd followed the rules. I told myself the rules existed for a reason. I told myself Iris Tanaka had wandered into a ravine like the boy before her, and that whatever happened to her was nature, indifferent and clean. I drove past her parents' house once, that summer, just once. They had moved her bedroom curtains so that the streetlight outside her window stopped catching the inside of the glass. I sat in my truck on the corner for 9 minutes and I did not get out. I think part of me already knew that what I owed those parents was not condolences. It was an answer. And I did not have one I was willing to say out loud. I was wrong about a lot of things, but I was most wrong about that. This past March, Halloran retired. There was no party. He cleared out his office in a single afternoon, handed me the keys to the cabin and the master logbook, and told me 3 things on his way out the door. 1, the unwritten rules go double for the senior ranger. 2, if I ever found something on the marked trail that didn't belong, I was to leave it exactly where it was. walk back to the station, lock the door, and not come out until sunrise. 3. I was never, under any circumstance, to open the unmarked envelope he was leaving on my desk. I asked him what was in it. He said, "A name. When you need it, you'll know. Until then, leave it alone." I did not open the envelope. I put it in the top drawer under the master logbook, and I did not look at it again for 6 weeks. The first warm Saturday of April, I walked the North Loop on closing patrol. It was the kind of day this park exists for. A few day hikers heading back to the lot, a couple with a leashed dog, 2 college kids in fresh boots who asked me which way to the waterfall, and I pointed, and they thanked me, and I watched them go. I reached the Eastern Survey marker at 6:14 in the evening. The sun was still up. I logged the time. I turned to walk back. There was a shoe, just one, past the marker. On the unmarked path, the one I had spent 9 years pretending wasn't there. I knew the rule. Halloran had said it 3 times, in 3 different ways. Don't cross the marker. Don't follow lights. If you find something on the marked trail that doesn't belong, leave it. This was past the marker. This was on the unmarked trail. By every version of the rule, I was supposed to turn around and walk away. I walked across. I told myself I was just going to look. I told myself I'd take 3 steps, confirm the shoe, photograph it for the report, and walk back. I told myself rules made for an old man weren't necessarily rules made for me. The shoe was a child's, size 11, maybe a 4-year-old. It was warm, not sun-warm, body-warm, like it had just come off a foot. I put the shoe back exactly where I'd found it. I stood. I stepped back across the marker. I logged it as object on trail, North Loop, retrieved, returned to lost and found. I did not photograph it. I did not radio it in. I walked the 11 miles back to the cabin at a pace just under a jog, and when I got there, I locked the door and I did not open it again until morning. I had broken the rule. I had crossed the marker. I just didn't know yet what crossing meant. I did not sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with the lights off and the radio off, and a glass of water I did not drink. Every 20 minutes I would catch myself listening for footsteps on the porch. Every 20 minutes the porch would not give me any. Around 3 in the morning I told myself I had imagined the warmth of the canvas and the wrongness of the light, and I almost believed it. I did not almost believe the part where I had stepped past the marker. That part I knew, clean and dry, the way you know your own name. A boundary you have respected for 9 years does not unmake itself in your memory. It does the opposite. It gets sharper. I told myself it was nothing. I went about my morning routine. I checked the logbook. I called dispatch. I confirmed the day's permits. 2 hiking parties on the south face, 1 solo backpacker on the connector loop, no overnight permits on the north loop. A normal day. By 2 in the afternoon, I had convinced myself I'd imagined the warmth in the canvas. By 4, I had convinced myself the shoe had been there for days, left by a tourist, and the wind had only made me think it was odd. By 6, I knew I was lying. I drove out to the North Loop at sunset. I told myself I needed to verify the shoe was still there, that I needed to handle it properly, that whatever I'd felt the night before was a stress response, and I'd see it clearly in daylight. The sun was going down when I started walking. That was already a violation. Don't take the late shift in spring. I reached the marker at 7:02 in the evening. The light was almost gone. The shoe was still there. It was not alone. There were shoes for as far as I could see down the path, hundreds, maybe more. Pairs and singles, children's sneakers, a pair of small leather boots, a patent leather Mary Jane, hiking boots, adult, men's and women's. 1 pair of work boots that looked like they'd belonged to a logger 50 years ago. They were arranged in a line down the center of the trail, evenly spaced, each pair set neatly together as if someone had stepped out of them and walked on. I counted as I walked. I crossed the marker again. I'm telling you, I crossed it like it was nothing this time, like the rule had already broken inside me and there was no rebuilding it. And I started counting pairs. I lost count at 60. There were sizes I recognized. There was a small purple shoe with a Velcro strap that I had seen in a missing persons photograph in 2021. Iris Tanaka's. Pristine, not touched by 5 years of weather. I did not pick it up. Some part of me knew that picking it up would be answering a question I had not been asked yet. I kept walking. I walked until my flashlight beam caught the end of the line. White canvas sneakers. Women's, size 8, brand new. The trail name was carved into the post in fresh wood, the cut still pale. It said Trail 7. The shoes were mine. My name was already written in them. I walked backward up the trail. I did not turn around. I crossed the marker again, and only when the iron post was at my back did I let myself run. 11 miles, full sprint, lungs burning. I made it back to the station. I locked the door. I filed nothing. I stood there until sunrise. I did not look at the windows. I did not answer when the phone rang at 3:47 in the morning. I did not answer when something on the porch said my name. The porch said it 3 times. The first time it sounded like a co-worker. The second time it sounded like my mother, which is a thing I have not heard in 11 years because my mother has been dead for 11 years. The third time it sounded like Iris Tanaka, the way her voice was on the 911 call I had listened to once in 2021 and had been pretending I had forgotten ever since. After the third time, the porch was quiet. The porch stayed quiet until first light, and that, more than anything else that happened that week, told me that whatever was out there could be patient, could be gentle, could wait through one closed door, knowing it would not have to wait through the next. I waited until full sunrise. Then I drove to the headquarters office in town. The headquarters has an archive, a real one, basement level, climate-controlled, set up in the 80s when the park bureaucracy got serious about records retention. Every incident report from 1947 forward lives in those drawers. Bear encounters, lost hikers, trail closures, storm damage, death reports. I had keys to most of it, senior ranger access. But there was one cabinet, the one in the back corner behind the wildlife reports, that nobody ever opened. Halloran had pointed at it on my second day and said, "That one stays closed. That's supervisor only." It had a separate lock, not the building master. A small brass cylinder, old. I broke into it. The folder at the front was thicker than my forearm. It was marked in 2 lines of block capitals across the front. I took the folder to the desk. I sat down. I opened it. The first report was from 1947. A child, 5 years old, spring, new moon. Last seen on the North Loop. Search called off after 13 days. No remains. The second was 1949. 2 children, same trail, same season. The third was 1952. A hiker. By the 80s the entries got thicker, 2 or 3 a year, some years. Then long gaps, then clusters. They went back 79 years. Every disappearance in the park, every single one I'd ever heard a story about, and many I had not, was in that file. Children mostly, some hikers, 2 rangers, both predating my hire. All in spring, all on a new moon, all on the unmarked trail, the recent ones I knew. Iris Tanaka was there, her photograph clipped to the corner of her report. The smile, the purple Velcro shoes. Behind the reports there were photographs. Old ones, Polaroids and film prints, clipped together by decade. Each photograph showed the same fallen log along the unmarked trail, taken from the same angle in different decades. And at the base of the log in every photograph, more shoes than the one before. In the earliest photograph, from what looked like the late 1950s, there were maybe a dozen pairs. In the most recent dated last spring in pencil on the back, there were hundreds. There was a cassette, Halloran's handwriting on the label. For the next one, I put it in the player. There was one Polaroid I hadn't turned over yet. It had been clipped to the back inside cover of the folder. Halloran's note in pencil on the white border at the bottom, mine. I turned it over. The child had no face. I went straight from the archive to Halloran's house. He lived alone, at the end of a dirt road, in a small place with a wraparound porch and a wood stove. I drove there with the folder on the passenger seat. I knocked on his door at 9 in the morning. I asked him why. I asked him why none of them ever told the new rangers. He looked at me for a long time. He set his coffee down on the porch rail. He picked up a half-finished cigarette from the ashtray and lit it. He said it the way you tell someone the weather. He told me he had been the next one once. He told me his predecessor had handed him the unwritten rules and the cabinet key and the unmarked envelope, and he had broken a rule in his second year, and he had walked the line, and he had been in the file for 41 years. He said the trail picks. He said it picks early and patient. He said the shoes are not trophies, they are invitations. I asked him if it would let me refuse. He said it would. He said the price of refusing was that someone else had to go in my place. He said, "They'll come to your door tonight. Don't open it. If you open it, you have to choose. They'll let you choose." I stood on his porch for a full minute after the door closed. I could hear him moving inside the house. I could hear something else moving inside the house, smaller and quieter, on the hardwood by the stairs. I do not know if Halloran lives alone. I am not sure he has lived alone for 41 years. I drove back to the cabin. I put the folder on the kitchen table. I took the unmarked envelope out of the desk drawer and held it in my hand for a long time. I did not open it. Not yet. I sat at the kitchen table from noon until sundown. I did not eat. I did not call anyone. I went over every rule I had broken, in order, and I made an honest list. 1. I crossed the marker. 2. I picked up the shoe. 3. I walked the line. I had broken the rules in sequence, the way the file said the rangers before me had broken them. The way Halloran had, the way every name in that folder had, going back 79 years. The doorbell rang at 7:14 in the evening. I did not move. I sat at the table and I listened. I had heard that exact voice in the file. Iris Tanaka's last recorded words on a 911 call her mother made, where Iris was in the background telling her mum that her friend was hurt, that he needed help, that he was on a trail. I stood up. I walked to the door. I did not open it. There were more of them now. I put my forehead against the wood of the door. I want you to understand, to really understand, what that sentence does to a person who knows what's in the folder. Someone smaller. The trail is patient. The trail is patient because every name in that file used to be a missing persons flyer on a coffee shop bulletin board. Every shoe in that line used to belong to a child who answered when something at the door said it needed help. There is a permit list on my computer. There are names, there are addresses. There is a 6-year-old with a school field trip permit for the North Loop next Tuesday. There is a 4-year-old at the campground tonight in a tent 12 miles from here. If I refuse, the trail picks. The trail picks small and easy and close. The trail picks the field trip. The trail picks the campground. The trail picks the next ranger, the one Human Resources is about to hire to replace Halloran, who has not signed her paperwork yet and does not know there is an unmarked trail and does not know what an iron post means. I asked them through the door if it would be only me. If I went, would it be enough? I asked how long. I asked them through the door what showing meant. If I was going to be a thing that knocked on a porch in 5 years and held out a pair of canvas shoes to whatever 24-year-old came up the steps with a fresh duty belt and a clean logbook. They did not answer that one. The silence on the porch was answer enough. I had read the file. I knew what some of them had been before the trail picked them. 2 of them had been rangers, predating my hire. The file did not say what the rangers became after. I asked who I would be showing. The first child's voice came back, quieter, almost embarrassed. I stepped back from the door. I went to the desk drawer. I took out the unmarked envelope Halloran had left me. I broke the yellow tape with my thumbnail. There was one line on the page. It was a name. A woman's name, followed by a phone number. Below the name, in smaller letters. If you cannot send yourself, send her. She lives alone. She is 42. She has no children. She will believe you if you tell her there is an emergency on Trail 7. She has been on the files list since 2003. Halloran had given me his out. He had picked someone for me, in advance, the way somebody had once picked someone for him. He had left me a name so I would not have to send a child, so I would not have to send the next ranger, so I would not have to walk the line myself. A grown woman, alone, childless, already on the list. I held the envelope. I held it for a long time. Then I walked to the wood stove. I opened the iron door. I dropped the envelope into the coals. I am not sending a stranger to die because someone in 1947 wrote her name in a folder. I am not sending a 4-year-old at the campground. I am not sending the next ranger. I am not sending a child. I am sending the only one I get to choose. I stood at the stove and I watched it burn until there was nothing left of the name on the page. I do not know who that woman was. I will not know. I think Halloran picked her out of an old roster 41 years ago and never erased her. The way some people keep a glass of water on the nightstand they never drink from. Just in case, always just in case. He had carried her name in that envelope for 4 decades like a parachute. It was not my parachute. I will not pretend a stranger's life was ever mine to spend. I opened the door. The closest child, a girl, maybe 7, with dark hair tucked behind one ear, held the sneakers up to me. They were the ones from the clearing. Size 8, white canvas, my name in faint marker on the inside sole. I took them. The boots I left on the porch, worn brown leather, 9 years on trail. I set them neatly together by the door, the way I had set everything neatly in this cabin for 9 years. I want to tell you that I was brave. I was not. I want to tell you that I had peace. I did not. What I had was a list. I had the file. I had 4-year-olds at campgrounds and 6-year-olds on field trips, and a 24-year-old woman who had not signed her paperwork yet. And I had the shoes on my feet, and I had the trail. I walked the 11 miles in the dark. I did not see Halloran's face on any of them. I think he kept his face. I think the trail lets you keep your face if you bring the next one yourself. I did not bring the next one. I refused that part. The dark-haired girl took my hand somewhere around the 3rd mile. She did not grip. She did not pull. She put her fingers inside mine and let her hand rest there like a thing that had once known how to be held. I did not pull away. I do not know what year she was. I think she was older than the trail or older than what walks it. I think some of them have been there long enough that they have forgotten which name to answer to, and they walk to the end with whoever the trail picks, because that is what they have left to do. We crossed the marker without slowing. The children did not look at it. I think they had stopped seeing it a long time ago. I walked the line. I let the children walk beside me. I recognized some of the shoes now, Iris Tanaka's purple Velcro, a pair of small leather boots from a 1962 file, a Mary Jane I had seen in a photograph of a girl named Annie who disappeared in 1978. I told them I was sorry. I do not know if it helps. I do not know if anything helps. But I told them the clearing was as I had left it. The children sat down. They did not speak. The first girl, the one with the dark hair, looked up at me from the log, and her face was, for a moment, only a face. A child's face. Tired, small, patient in a way no child should ever have to be. I sat down on the log next to her. I did not see what came out of the trees. I think you do not see it. I think you only feel it arrive, the way you feel a storm break a long way off. I felt it arrive. I am told the trail does not kill you. I am told it takes you slow. It takes you awake. It uses your hands and your face and your name. It puts you in photographs. It walks you out, sometimes, to carry shoes back to a porch. It gives you a face to wear when you have learned to keep it. It will give me a face. Human Resources hired her on Monday. She started on Wednesday. She found a pair of women's brown work boots on the porch when she arrived. Worn leather, 9 years on trail, she thought they were a welcome gift from her predecessor. She put them in the lost and found by the door, and she went inside, and she signed her paperwork, and she put on the kettle. I am on the other side of that door now. I am the one holding the shoes. The shoes I am holding are not the ones I left on the porch in my own boots place. They are smaller, they are older. They are the next pair, the pair after mine, and they are warm in my hands the way the first one was warm on Trail 7. I do not get to refuse this part. The trail uses your hands. I told you it would. If this is your first time on the channel, subscribe and turn notifications on. New horror every week, and the next one is already queued up. If you watched the short first, Ranger Mara at the door, you just heard the long version. The file, the marker, the names she chose not to send. The choice she made anyway. Tell me in the comments, would you have burned the envelope? Or would you have used the name? There's no wrong answer. There's only the one you'd live with. If you ever apply to be a park ranger and the supervisor hands you 2 sheets of paper at your interview, read both, then walk back to your car I'll see you in the next one.